Hi, everybody, and welcome into this latest edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. I'm your beat reporter for Michigan State Spartans on SI, Aidan Champion. Would like to get back into some basketball talk. Been doing some football talk and recruiting talk, because obviously recruiting has been big for Michigan State football. Just closed out official visit season, finished official visit season, can still add more commits, of course. But as of right now, have 19 commits from the class of 2026 with three 4 stars. Tremendous turnaround for Michigan State football there. But turning our attention to basketball, Moneyball Pro Am starts today. Super excited for that. Looking forward to seeing some returners back out on the floor, and then some newcomers like uh, like Trey Fort, Divine Chukwu. I think it'll be a fun event. Of course, like many, looking forward to seeing some jams from Cohen Carr. Obviously, I'm a journalist and I gotta um I'm to remain biased, but I I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy a good dunk showing from arguably the best dunker in college basketball. That is Cohen Carr. And speaking of Colin Carr, I want to discuss today who I think will be Michigan State's leading scorer next season. You've got one of the same issues you had last year going into the year, where you don't have necessarily a go-to scorer. You lose your top three scorers from last year, just like they did last year. And you've got several guys who are capable of leading the team in scoring. I know, leading scorer and go-to scorer, it's kind of different conversations, but um, for the sake of this discussion, I'm kind of putting them hand in hand because um, I feel like they do with this squad. But like I said, you can make a case for just about um, any of the projected starters. Jeremy Fears. Um, I don't anticipate him being um, it's tough to say. I don't anticipate him being the leading scorer. I do anticipate him being more of a scorer this season. He's, more of a floor general and he's great at what he does and it really fits well with this offense. But um just I don't see him carrying the scoring load per se. I think he'll get better shooting wise. I think he'll become a more aggressive scorer. And he can be a really good scorer uh when you need him to be. If you need a bucket from him, he's dependable for sure. And he'll be more experienced this year. I think from what I've seen, highlights and whatnot, um that he's got his bounce back. And that's going to be huge for this squad, especially when your point guard can be aggressive and attack the hole. But last year just 7.2 points per game. Not anything that really jumps out to you, but like I said, he's his role is the floor general, and if you need him to be a scorer, he can be. So, but I'm not anticipating him to be the leading scorer. Um, from there, it gets kind of tough. Um, it's it'd be easy to look at Trey Fort and say he'll be, he averaged more than 14 points per game last year for Samford, but obviously different competition level. Um, I was wrong anticipating Frankie Fiddler. I thought I had a strong feeling that Frankie was going to be Michigan State's leading scorer last year. Did not. That was not how it turned out. Um, in fact, he finished sixth on the team in scoring. And of course didn't. Um, he was coming off the bench, but definitely think Trey will be one of their better shooters. I mean, he's going to be their starting shooting guard. Probably will be their best three-point shooter. But as far as really taking an aggressive approach and being the guy who you want with the ball when it matters, um, might just be someone you want on the perimeter. I could be wrong. It's very tough to say. Just we haven't even seen him yet in a Spartan uniform, and I'm not necessarily um, banking on him being um, a major scorer for this team. Could could definitely see you know double digit, an average of double digits. Um, so I definitely think he'll be up there, but kind of um, canceling him out. I really think it comes down to Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper. Um, but Kohler, I mean, he was very inconsistent last year. I mean, he was great. Don't get me wrong, he took a major leap. I think he'll do it again this year. I think he'll be more consistent, but um, I don't think he's a score first kind of guy. Um, great at everything you need a big man to do for you. He improved his shooting last year. I think he'll continue to improve it. But as far as um, consistently being a double digit scorer a night kind of guy, I don't I don't necessarily foresee that. And then that brings you to Cohen Carr. I think he's going to be number one. I think he's going to be asked to be the guy. I think that it will be his responsibility. I think he's going to be a better shooter. Um, both outside and just from mid range. But I mean that's not everything. Um, Obviously, Jaden Akins was their leading scorer last year, and nobody on this team was that consistent from range. So that you didn't have to be a great 3-point shooter to be a great scorer on this team, and no one was a great scorer. Um, Everyone had their moments for sure, but consistency, probably just Jace, but that was, obviously when he came on, had he, been that way the whole year, yeah, I mean, he probably would have been at least a second team all Big Ten guy. Um, but like I said, there was no one that was that consistent, and the only reason Jace wasn't was he didn't start all year. Um, but he was definitely very consistent in that second half or so of the year when he started to, raise his draft stock. But so, that's what I'm saying with Cone Carr is for him to be the leading scorer doesn't necessarily mean he has to be a great 3-point shooter. And I think he's going to attack the rim. He's great at drawing fouls. Um, and I think opponents are going to want to get out of his way. 'Cause I don't think you'd want to be in the paint when Cohen's coming. Um, so he's got that. I mean, he can finish if he does draw contact. Heck of a finisher. Um, and I think he's going to be much more aggressive. I anticipate him to start Um, Especially now with Glenn being out. I didn't project Glenn to start anyways, but I think it's pretty certain that Cohen will start, and he will be the guy. Um, I think he's going to be a better scorer, better shooter. Um, so that's what I see for this team. Um, and I don't. I think it's going to be a lot like last year. I don't think anyone's going to be getting up to that 15 points per game range. Um, I think Cart could. I just don't see it happening. Um, or I don't think it will happen. But I think it'll be more of a collective effort again. But for the sake of this discussion, I think Cohen Carr will lead the Spartans in scoring. And then I think Jackson Kohler will be a pretty close second. I think it'll be interesting to see the two of those guys. Um, they're going to be the leaders of this team. I mean, and by leader, I mean they're best players. Um, and so I'm interested to see just how big of a leap each of them take because they both did improve big time last year. So I think if that trajectory just continues to climb, they're going to be all conference guys. I definitely see it coming. Um, I think it will be exciting. I think fans should be excited. So let me know, who do you guys think will be Michigan State's leading scorer? Um, I'll be at Moneyball and I'll be giving you some highlights and interviews, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of coverage for you guys. Hope you all are able to tune into it. With that said, thank you as always for tuning in and very much appreciate your engagement and your support. Hope you all are having a great start to your week. Thank you.